podcast production. This month, in our investigation of gameplay as storytelling, we will be looking at iconoclasts. I'm just kidding. I suck at games. That'll be May. This month instead, we will be looking at Fire Emblem, a series of tactical turn-based strategy games for various Nintendo systems, where a group of 20 to 40 of the anime-est young adults save the world from, dragons or something. If you've never heard of Fire Emblem, just know that the classics are better, and let me give you the rundown. Fire Emblem is a long-running series from Intelligent Systems that began with Shadow Dragon in the Blade of Light in 1990. You might recognize some of the blue-haired protagonists from Super Smash Bros. However, the first game to be localized and brought to the West was Blazing Sword, known simply as Fire Emblem outside of Japan, in 2003 for the GBA. Unfortunately, starting with the release of Radiant Dawn for the Wii in 2007, the games fell into a bit of a financial slump. Awakening was actually intended to be a bit of a last hurrah for the series, but it ended up outperforming all previous entries in Western territories. From there, they were able to release multiple remakes and spin-offs in the West, along with the most recent main entry, Fates, which is actually, ambitiously, 3 games in 1. Today we'll be discussing these latest 2 entries. Specifically, we will examine how they use the support system compared to previous games, and how the new children system works effectively with storytelling in Awakening, while it does not in Fates. Let's begin with the support system, one of the gameplay features that makes the Fire Emblem games stand out from the small crowd of tactics games out there. With the support system, characters who work together in battle grow closer over time. In the older games, relationships grew by having 2 units end turns side by side, while in Awakening and Fates, it grows by having characters fight side by side. Over time, 2 units will have 3 or 4 conversations that allows insight into the characters and develops the relationship between them. Characters who support also give each other bonuses in battle, which grow greater as supports rank up. This system is the reason I loved Fire Emblem so much from Blazing Sword on. Unlike other tactics games, Fire Emblem makes sure that you care about the characters. I could go off on a tangent about how caring about the characters makes the permadeath system meaningful, but that's not our topic, despite it being another great example of how mechanics work together for storytelling in this series. Let's keep focus on the support bonuses. This system makes a lot of sense. Working together on a battlefield frequently logically leads to the formation of stronger relationships. As a relationship grows between 2 people, so does trust and understanding. When working together with someone you know on the battlefield, it logically follows that a fighter would be able to perform better, because they know who's watching their back. It's a circular process where the storytelling is created by mechanics, and mechanics by storytelling. However, it is an imperfect system. Let me explain. In the older games, the characters could only have 5 support conversations each. While that is illogical in a few ways, it was the version of support that favored storytelling. By limiting the number of supports, it allowed characters to actually grow through their conversations with others. Romances could blossom slowly, lessons could be learned and held on to. There wasn't worry of supports contradicting each other. Additionally, the characters each character could support with was also limited. Conversations were only available between parties who might have meaningful things to say to one another. Again, slightly illogical, but these games made the choice to have better character development at the expense of complete logical sense. Awakening and Fates instead use a version of support that favors mechanics. Characters have no support limits, with the exception of S rank only going to 1 due to it being the romance route, essentially. And they have a bigger number of possible support partners. This is to support the children's system, but we'll get to that. This is somewhat more logical than the old system, because you might work together with a lot of people in the battlefield and get to know them all. The characters of Awakening and Fates feel more tightly knit anyway, since they both have bases that they retreat to. Therefore, it should follow that everybody would get a chance to interact. However, by removing the support limit, storytelling is sacrificed. Romances cannot develop slowly because characters get married at S rank. If a character was married, but the support showed developing romance in another support, that wouldn't go over so well. Additionally, characters cannot develop. They can pretend to learn lessons, but as soon as a new support starts, they've forgotten it again because that development cannot be carried over to every single permutation of support combinations. No version of support functions as a perfect example of mechanics and storytelling working together. I prefer the old way myself, but a lot of people like the freedom that the new way offers, which is fine. In Fates especially, I thought that many of the supports felt like a waste of time, but I think that has to do with the sheer number that the writers of the game had to come up with. Fates has double the amount of characters as Awakening, literally, and every male-female pair has to have their own support conversations. Related or not, because Fates sort of just threw up its hands when it came to incest.
Hi, I'm Incest!
Sorry, Incest, I'm not really interested right now.
If male-female pairs were limited, it would become much harder to recruit all the children, which is a good place as any to transition to the children's system and how they work differently in Awakening and Fates. Specifically, how Awakening uses the system to support its storytelling, and how Fates uses the system only as an extra mechanic. In Awakening and Fates, as I mentioned, characters who reach an S-rank support get married. What happens after that differs depending on the game. In Awakening, Crom, the requisite blue-headed hero, has a baby with whoever his wife turns out to be during a lull in the war. But as is discovered in the second half of the story, it turns out that the future world has literally gone to hell, and that baby has come back from the future as an adult, Lucina, along with the future children of the other married pairs, despite everyone except Lucina having yet to be born in this time. And they're there to stop their world from becoming a reality. In Fates, on the other hand, everybody who gets married decides they need to have a baby right that instant, even though there's a freaking war on, and then, upon having that baby, they realize what a stupid freaking idea that was.
I made a huge, tiny mistake.
And shove them into this thing called a deep realm that never becomes relevant to the main story, and time passes really fast in deep realms because they do, compared to the real world, so the kids become adults in a snap, and then they come join your army for reasons. So that's the main difference between the children's system in Awakening and the children's system in Fates. In Awakening, the children's system is a driving force of the main plot. Lucina is the one pushing things forward throughout the second half of the game. In Fates, the children's system is there because people liked it in Awakening. They make no attempt to make the children part of the storytelling. However, that's not the only thing that makes the children in Fates frustrating. Part of the point of getting these children is that they have the potential to grow a lot stronger than their parent units. Their growth rates are better, basically, so their stats end up higher as they level up, and they help a lot in the late game levels. In Awakening, this makes a lot of sense because the children all come from a post-apocalyptic future where their parents are all dead. They learned from their parents' mistakes and became very adaptable due to their familiarity with hardship and their daily struggles to just stay alive in a world taken over by risen. They should be better than their parents. Also, and this isn't exactly gameplay as storytelling, but is worth mentioning, they are well-written characters. They are kooky and over the top in many different ways, but their personalities all stem from their defense mechanisms. Inigo is a terrible flirt, but it's because he wants to make girls smile like his mother can no longer do. Owain is a delusional show-off, but it's tied his grief from losing his parents and his terror that he will lose even more. Severa is a giant jerk because she felt like she was second best after her mother's Lord Crom, something that was solidified when Cordelia died for him and left her. All of them are horribly messed up people, and it makes sense that they are, and you care about why they are that way. In Fates, meanwhile, children are stronger than their parents because they are. Most of them have just been sitting in their deep realm doing nothing until the call to action comes, so I guess they're all just natural geniuses. And their parents let them join the army, because they do. These kids have no real battle experience, there's no reason they should be allowed in. I guess maybe their parents hate them since they had them during a war and shoved them in the deep realm in the first place, so maybe they're just hoping they'll die. And without any real backstories, they don't have very interesting personalities. Which isn't to say some of them aren't good, but come on. A few of them are literal copy-pastes, either from their parents or from Awakening characters, which I know was on purpose, but still feels a little lazy. And just, we get it, you like pickles, why don't you have any other personality traits? Sorry. You are free to like Hisame and tell me why he's the best in the comments. Go ahead. Look, the Fire Emblem team was making 3 games at once during Fates. I understand that they wanted to include the children's system because it's a huge reason of why Awakening did so well. I just wish they had found some way to justify it that wasn't just shoving them into a grow-up fast child neglect nigga zone. You know, the one where soap operas shove their children. Their existence isn't just neutral to the main story, it actively makes no sense. Deep realms are introduced out of nowhere, and I'm sorry, why are all these couples deciding that now is the time to have children? Some of the women having babies are super valuable members of the army. In Awakening, the only one who had a child during the game was Crom and his wife, and that makes sense. It was a break during the war, and he probably would have been encouraged to have an heir. I think that the support system is awesome, and I enjoyed trying to make the most OP babies I possibly could in both Awakening and Fates. But it's harder to feel connected to the stories of the kids in Fates, since their existence never escapes the feeling of being a tacked-on mechanic. That's the biggest glaring difference between Awakening and Fates for me. That and, you know, the feet. If you like this video, why don't you hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more content coming soon. Still coming are videos about iconoclasts, one day, Nier Automata, The Last of Us, and some general topic videos on gameplay storytelling trends that I'm thinking about. If you have a suggestion for a topic to cover, leave it in the comments. If you can't wait for the next video, check out our main podcast, Talk This, where we talk about different games every week, available for download on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, and more. Follow us on social media for updates and other fun content. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Talk This Podcast. And check out our website, where we also do blogs, including stuff on all sorts of games. Just check the description for all the links you need. So, until next time, I wish you happy playing.
Yeah, nailed it!